Now let's talk about something that people avoid like the plague. Toxic relationships. But not just any. The ones that happen within families. The kind that make you question your sanity, but you keep going back because, well, they're your blood, right? We're told that family is everything, that we owe them our loyalty, our silence, and our forgiveness, no matter what. But what happens when family is the one doing the damage? Today, I want to talk about the truth behind these relationships, the guilt, the manipulation, and the way that it chips away at your sense of self. And most of all, how you start freeing yourself from that cycle, even though the world tells you not to. This isn't going to be comfortable, but it's real. And I think it's time we stop pretending these wounds don't exist just because they were wrapped in love. So, let's get into it. Toxic family dynamics. What they look like, how they work, and how to finally cut them out. Alright, so what do we mean when we say toxic family dynamics? Sometimes it's the parent who only shows you love when you're obedient, when you shrink yourself to keep the peace. Other times it's the sibling rivalry that's not playful, but designed to tear you down. Or an aunt who spreads rumours in the name of family concern. Or the father who says, "You're too sensitive," after saying something cruel. Toxicity in families doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It guilt trips you. It makes you feel responsible for their feelings, their happiness, and even their mistakes. You might hear things like, "After everything we've done for you, you're the problem," and you always make it about you. And you start to question yourself, and you start shrinking, apologizing when you haven't done anything wrong. And that's what they don't talk about. The emotional manipulation masked in love. Because when someone raises you, feeds you, and even loves you in their own way, it's confusing. But here's the thing. Love without respect, without safety, and without accountability isn't love, it's control. And I'm not here to sugarcoat it. Sometimes the most toxic people in our lives share our last name, and the bravest thing you'll ever do is admit that to yourself. I want to share something personal, because I'm not just talking about toxic families from research or observation. I've lived it. So here we go. Let's get into it. I want to talk to you about the toxic relationship with my sister. For years and years, she treated me like I was beneath her. I tried to keep the peace. I tried to be the bigger person. But the more I let things go, the more she pushed. Emotionally, verbally, and quietly. If I ever stood up for myself, calmly but firmly, she'd flip it. She'd cry to my parents. She'd completely flip the story. And then I would be the bad person. I would be the problem. My phone would ring. It would be my mum, my dad, or someone else in the family. And they'd be telling me to let it go. She's too sensitive. That I had to be the bigger person. Again. They didn't want the truth. They just wanted peace. But it came at a cost of my voice, my sanity, and my sense of self. It took me a long time to realize that keeping the peace was breaking me. And what hurt most of all wasn't her manipulation. It was the way everybody let her get away with it. Because that's what families often do. They protect the one who cries the loudest, not the one who's quietly crumbling. Now I know what everyone's going to say. "Oh, come on. It's just sibling rivalry." No. That's not what this is. This wasn't about who got the bigger bedroom, who's borrowed my top without asking. This was deep, it was manipulative, and it was very messy. She would constantly lie to get attention. She would create drama, create it deliberately, just so she could be the center of everything. And the worst part, she didn't just mess with my emotions, she messed with my money. She once ordered a lot of clothes using my card, and she spent a lot of money without even blinking. And when I confronted her and I asked her, her response was, "Oh, sorry, I thought it was our other sister's card." So she was saying that she didn't mean to steal off me. She was supposed to be stealing off our other sister. I mean, who even says that? Like, seriously. And at the time, I wanted to call the police. I did, not because I wanted to ruin her life, but because I wanted her to finally be accountable for something, for the way that she has been ruining my life and how she has been doing this to me, and I can't just let her keep doing it, right? she would continually treat me like I didn't matter, like she could do anything. And I wanted to put a stop to it there and then. But of course, the moment I mentioned that, the whole family turned on me. I was overreacting or taking things too far or airing dirty laundry. Once again, I was the villain just for wanting accountability. Let me tell you something. When your family member breaks your trust repeatedly and you're made to feel like the problem for speaking up, that's not a healthy family. That is a toxic system. Now, around this time, I was living away from home. I wasn't living with family. She was living with family, and she got ill. She did get ill. She was very ill. I don't want to go into details of that. That is her business, but she did need help at that time. Real full-time care, and even after everything that she had done to me in the years, in the recent time at that point when she was using my card to buy clothes, I said yeah. She moved in with me, and to be honest, somehow, despite everything that had happened in the past, we did become quite close. I told myself that this was a fresh start, that this was the moment where things could change. I left my job, I became her full-time carer, I booked her appointments, chased up tests, talked to doctors, helped her with day-to-day things, and I gave up everything. Of course I did, because that is what I wanted to do for my sister. And I want to add that during this time, we had no income coming in, okay? I didn't get paid to look after her. It wasn't that kind of situation. We lived purely off of my savings and credit cards and things like that, which is quite difficult to do when you have no income coming in. But we were comfortable, and that's the main thing. This went on for a little while and everything was fine. Eventually we managed to get her own place. So that was good. We got her settled in. She had somewhere to live. We had the right protocols in place, everything that she needed to be able to live by herself and care for herself at that point. Now, even though that she had moved into her own place, I went back to work. Everything in my life started to go back to normal after that. But we did stay close. She lived relatively close to me. We talked every single day. And this went on for a few years and everything was great. It felt good. It felt normal. She started a relationship with someone and she got pregnant. And I was so happy for her, so happy to have a new niece or nephew in the family. I could not wait. Honestly, I was there by her side, appointments, preparation. I was with her the whole day and night before she gave birth. I was there in the delivery room when she gave birth, so I was right there to meet my new nephew. And I will say that that day was the last happy moment that we had together, my sister and I. Because after that, her narcissistic traits came back with a vengeance. The manipulation, the entitlement, the emotional blackmail. It's like that version of herself never left. Just hit pause until she got the things that she needed. And once again, I became the emotional punch bag, the unpaid help, the one she could twist stories about when things didn't go her way. I let my guard down and I had trusted her, what I saw of her in those quiet years that we had. But the truth was, she was only quiet because she was comfortable. And the moment that she did not need me anymore, she showed me who she really is. Now, after the baby was born, she grew very close with our mother, which on the surface makes sense. She was a first-time mum, she needed support, and of course, my mum was there for her. But when I would visit, she wouldn't let me see the baby at all. At family gatherings, events, she would let everybody else hold the baby, take pictures and just share the moment, but not me. She would act like I did not exist. There was this one moment that I will never forget. We were at my mum's house and we had a few family members, extended family members that we don't often see, and they were over. My mum was holding the baby, my nephew, and she had to go do something, so she turned to me and she asked me if I wouldn't mind taking him for a minute while she go and sort this thing out. And I was ecstatic. I was like, yes, I will hold the baby, no problem. So I had the baby, I sat down, I was speaking with the relatives that were there. So I was sat down on the sofa and it was nice. It was really nice, and it just felt like normal thing to do. Then my sister walked into the room. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me, and then she turned around and she walked into the room where my mum was. Within seconds, my mum came back into the room, took the baby from me, handed the baby to another family member without saying anything. Now, in that moment, I didn't say anything. I just froze. Like, I didn't show that I was upset. I didn't act like I was hurt. Like, it felt like I was completely being erased. Years later, I asked my mum about this day, and she did admit to me that my sister had gone in and instructed her to take the baby from me and hand him to somebody else. She did admit that. It wasn't just being about pushed aside. It honestly felt like I was being permanently erased from everything. It was humiliating, and the worst part of it was that everybody around me, the people who should have protected me, just went along with it, went along with anything she wanted. And to be honest, yeah, that moment when my mum did that, in the under the instruction of my sister, I felt crushed. It was like a blow, and I just felt the utter just sadness, and I thought, this is just ridiculous. But I couldn't show it, because I mean, honestly, how do you explain it to people? No one would have understood what I was talking about. And it got to a point in the relationship that I had with my parents, mainly my mum, was that if I was ever at her house or in the car with her or anything, and my sister would call, if we had the baby with us, and my sister would call, I would have to be quiet. Like, my mum would go shh before she'd answer the phone, because if my sister knew that I was around the child, she would just completely flip out and stop my mum from being able to see him as well. Like, it was like that. And that went on for a while. It was really quite awful. She didn't want me around her child, and everybody else just went along with it. They didn't question it at all. There was one time where I was at a supermarket, and I saw my mum and dad, and they were in the supermarket, so I went over to say hi, and they had the baby there with them in the trolley. And I was like, oh, hey, just like, fancy seeing you guys here. And I remember my dad quickly shushing me and was like, oh, come on, you better be quick, because, my sister was there. And he was like, she'll be here in a minute, so, say hello and then on your way. And I remember just I looked at him and I was like, I'm allowed to be here. We're in the middle of Tesco. I'm allowed to be stood here. I'm allowed to run into you guys. It's not like we planned this. And I just remember feeling really small in that moment in front of my parents, and it was horrible. It was a horrible feeling. It was like this quiet panic and this shame, like I was some sort of shame for them to be talking to or seen in public with. Again, it felt like I was being erased, not by strangers, but by my own family, and they were going along with it. They were okay with it. And that's what emotional abuse looks like sometimes. It's not loud, it's not obvious, it's quiet, it's strategic. It makes you feel like you're the problem when the rest of the world claps for the one who's doing the harming. Now, 11 months after my sister gave birth to her first child, she gave birth to her second, a little girl, my niece. Now, I wasn't with her during that pregnancy. I wasn't with her during that birth. In fact, from what I remember, I wasn't even told firsthand. I think I found out about it afterwards, the birth, that is. I knew she was pregnant. And she will, to this day, say, no one was there for me. Listen, you pushed me away. You did. Okay? Now, I didn't meet my niece until months after she was born. And it was honestly by accident. I went round my mum's house to drop something off or pick something up. I can't quite remember exactly. But I went round there unannounced. My mum didn't know I was coming. And the baby was there. The new baby. And she quickly rushed me into the kitchen, and she was like, oh, say hello really quickly. We snapped a little picture of me holding her, and then rushed me right back out the door. Now, after that day, I spoke to my mum and I said, look, I will always be there for those children, but in regards to my sister, I completely cut her off. I said she no longer exists to me, and I don't want to hear anything about her. I don't want her to hear anything about me. And unless it's about the children, I'm done. And I could see how hard that was for my mum. I could, because to be honest, I don't blame her fully, because she just wants everybody to get along. That's all she wanted. She wanted us to be friends. And to be honest, I think that if my mum had gone against anything that my sister was saying, my sister would have cut her out as well. And, you know, it's my mum's grandchildren. It was hard for her as well, and I can see that, which is why I didn't cut anybody else off. I just cut her off. And sometimes you can't keep the peace. Not when it's destroying you inside and making you feel rubbish on a day-to-day basis, just to keep the peace, keep everybody else happy. You shouldn't have to sacrifice that. Now, about a year later, so I went this whole time without speaking to my sister at all. Not a word, nothing. She's completely blocked on my phone number, my social media, everything. I don't know. Even now, if my family relay her information about me, I don't know, but I don't want to hear anything about her. I really don't. But at this point, after that situation at my mum's house, when I met my niece for the first time, about a year went by. And then it was one of the child's birthday. I think it was hers, actually, my niece, birthday party. And I was invited. It was at my sister's house, and my mum called me to say that I was invited. So, I mean, I went. It was my niece's birthday. If I'm invited, I'm not going to miss it. I'm not going to miss the opportunity to be there for that. And yeah, I went to the party. During that party, my sister and we got to talking. Nothing too deep, but we were just, conversing back and forth, and she was engaging me into, do you want to help, them open their presents or whatever, and getting me involved, which was nice. I liked that. And I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe she is trying, she's not bringing up the past. She's not apologizing for anything she's done. She never acknowledges anything she's done anyway. And I just thought, well, if she wants to try and be civil and be amicable, then I will meet her halfway. And we started talking again, not regularly, not like it was before, but on the odd occasion, every couple of days or so, a text or a quick phone call just to check in. She would send me pictures of the children, which was nice. And yeah, it was okay. I mean, I was quite happy where I was in my life at that point because I had cut everything out already, and I had completely forgotten, not forgiven much, but forgotten about the past and how it made me feel. I just wanted to move on from that point, and I thought, okay, we can have some sort of relationship. If she's willing to try, then I am. So that's what we did. And so that went on for a couple of months. And then she did something that I was not expecting, and that I will not ever forgive or forget her for at all. Something that just completely sealed the chance of us ever speaking again. That's done. And I will tell you what happened. So let's just show you the amount of time that had passed. The birthday party that I attended, where my sister and I started talking again, was in September, okay, of whatever year. I can't really remember how many years ago. It was in September. Now my son's birthday is in April, so that's the amount of time that would have passed. Mid-April his birthday, and this would have probably been around early March or so when I had a conversation with her, and I'll tell you what happened. My son wanted this specific doll, this puppet thing. Is a Jeffy doll. I don't know if they're still popular online. He used to watch some videos. It's this YouTuber thing, and they were quite big at that time, and they were really quite hard to get hands off because they were so popular. So I managed to find one online. Now it wasn't crazy expensive, but it wasn't cheap at all. And whenever I would buy anything online, I would always send the parcels to my mum's house because I'm always out. There's no one ever at my house. We're always out. We're at work or doing something like that. She's she's always at home. My brother lived at her house as well, and so someone's always there. So I often send parcels to my mum's house because it was easier. But during this time, my mum was in the process of moving house, and I didn't know how long it was going to take to arrive, and I didn't know that which address to send it to, and if it would get there in time before she moved, and things like that. So I was at the time I was talking to my sister. Things were service level friendly, and I happened to explain this to my sister, and she said to me, hey, well, I'm always in, why don't you send it to my house and I'll take it for you? And I thought, okay, sure, that's really nice of you, thank you. Yeah, we'll do that. So I did. I had the toy be delivered to her house. Now, on the day it was due to be delivered, I got a notification saying, oh, your parcel's going to be delivered today. So I called my sister and I explained, hey, it's going to be delivered today. You're going to be in? She said, yeah, no problem. I'm not going out anywhere. I'll keep an eye out for it. I said, great, fine. This happened a few weeks before the actual day I needed it. And I thought, well, I may as well just leave it there, because if I have it at my house, I didn't want my son to find it because it was a surprise for him. And I thought it was just easier to keep it there. I would have done the same if it had gone to my mum's house. I normally, with birthday presents, Christmas presents, I send them to her house. I leave them there until like the day before, then I'll go and get them, so that there's no chance of the children finding them at our house. So yeah, that's how I worked it out. I just left it there and I forgot about it for a little while. It got to about 2 days before my son's birthday, and I realised that I still hadn't picked it up. So I sent my sister a message saying, hey, when would be a good time to come and get this parcel that I had sent? And she just replies, come and get what? Like, she was confused. So I was confused, and I said, I had that thing sent. And she said, no, nothing arrived, nothing came for you. And I was thinking, wait, I remember we had a conversation about it on the day, but okay, I was not super worried. I thought, oh, she's made a mistake here. So I went onto the tracking information for that actual parcel, because I don't delete anything. I've got everything, and I went on it and it came up delivered. This person took it, and the signature was my sister's signature. She had signed for it. So I called her back and explained this to her. I sent her the proof of the confirmation, her signature on the thing. And then she went from confused to absolutely devastated and hysterical. She was on the phone crying. She was saying, oh my God, I didn't know it was yours. And I was like, what are you talking about? What's happened? And then she started to explain to me what had happened that day. A parcel arrived, a mystery parcel. It had my name on the box, but okay. A mystery parcel came. She opened it. She didn't know what it was. And she said, these are her words, that it was scary looking, and she got scared and she threw it away. She threw it away. My son's birthday gift. The one thing he wanted, the one thing I trusted her with. No, it wasn't a mistake. It was an accident. It was on purpose. It was malicious. I mean, I was furious. I hung up the phone and I was scrambling at this point. Like, this is 2 days before I need it. I thought it was all sorted, and like, what was I going to do? So I called my other sister. I explained everything to her. She very kindly loaned me the money to buy a new one. I managed to find one online that could come overnight. I had to pay more for it, but at least it would get here in time. And so yeah, I sorted it out. Now, the next day after this happened, so it would be a day before my son's actual birthday. So the thing arrived, it was fine. I happened to be at the park with my son, and this park is quite close to where my sister lives. My mum called me while I was there, and I was talking to her, and she asked me where I was. I said where I was, and she said, oh, why don't you go pop round, visit the babies, meaning my sister's children, because obviously my sister didn't live that far away from where I was. And I was like, no, I'm not going there. And I told my mom what happened the day previous with the her thrown away this toy that I had brought, and I was explaining it to her, and then my mum stopped me and she said, "Wait, was it a puppet thing?" And I was like, "How does she know that?" It's like, "Yeah, how do you know it was a puppet? You know, how do you know? How do you know that?" And then my mum started to tell me a story. A few weeks prior, she had been at my sister's house, and there was this weird puppet toy that she had never seen before. And my mum asked her, "Oh, what is this?" My sister said to her, someone had sent the thing to her house by mistake, or the driver made a mistake and dropped it at her house, and she accepted the parcel. But it wasn't hers. She didn't know whose it was. It was a rando parcel sent to her house. And then my sister told my mum that she was going to sell it online instead of sending it back to its rightful owner. Now, my mum didn't know the parcel was mine. My sister did, but my mum didn't. My mum wasn't fully okay with her just stealing someone else's post and then selling it online, but my mum, not going to say anything to her. So that was all my mum knew. And that had happened weeks before the conversation I was having with my mum at that time. And I was gobsmacked. I mean, what? I mean, her throwing it away on purpose, just to spite me, was pretty horrible. But her selling it for profit for herself, not only is that wasting my money, but that was a gift for my child. Like, that was his birthday. She was quite happy for him not to have anything and sell his gift for her financial gain, and then lied to my face about it. Yeah, I was not happy. And then my mum said to me to speak to my brother, because my brother is quite an avid eBay seller, and apparently she reached out to him in order to help her sell it. So I did that. I immediately hung up. I got hold of my brother and I asked him. I didn't go into great detail. I said, "Did you help my sister," I'm not going to say her name, "sell this thing?" And I explained it to him, and he said, yeah, I did. I think I'll have to look at his records on the eBay. And then I told him the story and who's it belonged to, and exactly what had happened. And he was devastated. He was apologizing to me. He was so angry that he had been used to help, steal from my child and sell his toys. He was actually really apologetic. He was very angry at her, and I knew it wasn't his fault. He was just doing her a favor by helping her sell something. But even to this day, he still apologizes to me. My son is a lot older now, but he always says, "Man, I didn't know anything about that." And we're like, "Yeah, I know, don't worry." And I think he doesn't speak to her. He hasn't spoken to her really since that incident as well. He doesn't trust her at all anymore. But yeah, anyway, he found the listing and she put it on a bidding thing, so she didn't put a set price or something. I'm not entirely sure how eBay works, so please, I do apologise. And when I saw what she sold it for, now this toy cost a little over, at the time it cost a little over £200. She sold it for around £80. So she didn't even care enough to get a decent value for it. She just wanted to shift it and get some quick money. That's even worse. I'm reliving it in my head and the emotions I felt, and I'm just like, God. Now, of course, I confronted her because she couldn't deny it. I had the evidence. I had the witnesses to this thing. And then, she still continues to say that she didn't know. She didn't know it was ours. She didn't know it was mine, even though I had spoken to her the day it was due to be delivered. She assured me she'd be in. The parcel was in my name. And she was expecting it. I told her what it was. But no, she still says she didn't know it was mine. She admits that she sold it. She couldn't quite say she hadn't. And then when I said, "Well, why? Like, why?" And she said she needed to pay her Sky bill. Yes, she needed to pay her Sky bill. That was her answer. Her TV subscription was more important. That's what she said. Her TV subscription. subscription is more important than anything, more important than her respect for me, respect for my son, and respect for his birthday, his things, his gift. That was the last straw, really. That was it. I was done. And to be honest, it was the best thing I could have done at that time. I completely cut her off. Like I said before, she is blocked on everything that I have. Social media wise, she doesn't have my phone number. Of course she knows where I live, but she's not going to come around my house. I don't see her much at all. Only rarely at family gatherings and things. And if I do see her, there's no communication. I do not acknowledge her. And she stopped trying to talk to me a while ago because she knew I wasn't going to have any of it. You know, I'm there for her children. Her children live at my mother's house now permanently anyway. That's a whole different story. Nothing crazy happened. Okay, it's not anything like that. But so I see the children very regularly, without the shame of her finding out. That's not a problem anymore. The children know who I am. They know I'm here. They know I love them, and they love me, and that's the main thing. I don't miss anything that happens with them. I don't resent them at all for being her children. They can't help that. And that's that with her. And trust me, there is so much more in the background to this. There was so much more building up to it, but that was just the main points of why I had to stop and why I had to get away from that environment, because and I had to prove a point to my other family members that I'm not going to put up with that. And my relationship with those people has gotten better because they know that this is not happening anymore. And I think that they, over the years now, especially my mother, has started to see her true colours, the things that I was saying before no one could see because she was just doing it to me. But now I'm not there. She needs to possess and control everybody else and use them. And she can't use the children as a weapon anymore because they're no longer in her care. You know, my mum has the parental rights. She gave up her rights for certain reasons. And so now she hasn't got that to use against people. And I think people are starting to see exactly who she is in that aspect. And I just wanted to do this because when people I know knew during this time and people who I met afterwards, and I talk about these kind of things, and they are quite, like, some people relate to it very well and they think, oh my God, I had the same situation, and they didn't realise that it was that kind of toxic family or that weird kind of control that happens when people say things like coercive control and toxic relationships, and they automatically go to romantic partners and not people who are in your family, people who are, you're bound by this kind of family trust, and you have to be a certain way with them because they are your family and they're your blood, and that's how you're raised to be. And I'm sorry, sometimes you don't have to go to them, you don't have to be there for them when they are doing these things. And when that happens, you need to wake up and realize that you can go, you can separate yourself, and yeah, you can feel guilty. I felt guilty, and I don't know why I did, because she was just awful. She is an awful person. Not just to me, my other sister, she cut off contact with her way before I did. You know, that's, I don't even know what's going on there. That's something else. But I think I have a big family, a lot of siblings, and I think there's probably one of my siblings that still speak to her for their own reasons. And that's on them. I don't know why everybody cut ties with her, I can guess, but I don't know their personal stories, and this is mine. I just want everyone to be able to be free and say what they want to say and be who they want to be without being put down by everybody else. And that's the main thing, and that's the thing that I want people to take from this. Oh, thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I'm glad you stayed. So I'm Rachel Lou, in case you didn't know already. I don't think I introduced myself. I do apologise. I'm Rachel Lou. I'm a writer. I'm a creator. And if you like what you see, you know what to do. Come on. Like, subscribe. You can comment, send a message. I will reply if they're nice. If they're not, then I won't. But you can say what you want online, right? And I hope that my story has helped people or will help people. And I hope that you can take away something from this. And I'm open to chat if you need someone to talk to. I have done a lot of research on these kind of things since coming away from it. So I do a lot of research for the books that I write and things like that. And like I said, my book's not based on anyone in particular, but my own experiences plus things that I've read about and things I've researched and learned really help me with those things. So if you like things I have to say, obviously this was real and personal, but my books are not real. They are fiction, but they are very interesting. So please do take a look at those if you want to. Thank you all. See you soon.